Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jorvik, and in today's video we're going to be discussing everything that DC Studios, James Gunn, all of them, what they announced at San Diego Comic-Con. I already did a video talking about what the Marvel Hall H announcements, so if you want to see my thoughts on everything they talked about, including their huge announcement that RDJ is returning as Victor Von Doom, go check that video out. Just like Marvel though, DC didn't really have a lot to kind of announce. I mean, it is still a pretty light year for both studios, I believe. Although there is more shows coming out in the next few months towards the end of the year before we dive into next year's release of Superman. And I think one of the big things that they sort of showed off was that the old DC logo, I don't know what they call it the bullet, I think, but that's back now. I'll put it here. So it is kind of cool to see that logo back, because that's the logo that I grew up with. I mean, it was around in like the 70s up until like I think 2005, 2006. So it was something that I did grow up with and looked at. And considering that I read more DC comics than I do Marvel comics, although that is slowly changing, I am going back and buying like the omnibuses of characters and reading through some of these stories. So it does go back and forth. But anyways, I think the first thing that they really showcased was the trailer to Creature Commandos, which I have, at the time of recording this, I have not watched yet. I will be doing a separate video on that. And Creature Commandos is one of those things that I know nothing about. The only thing that I know is that it will technically be the first project in James Gunn's and Peter Safran's new DC Studio universe, the new DCU. So I am curious how this will lead into Superman, because I believe when he initially announced this slate, was that early 23, that all these characters could appear in live action as well, which I think is very interesting. And actually, I think Rick Flag Sr. is being played and voiced by Frank Grillo, who we all know as Crossbones in the MCU. And set photos set photos taken by paparazzi or other people show Frank Grillo as Rick Flag Sr. on the set of Superman. So, I don't know. We'll kind of see how these two movies tie in, and how Rick Flag, how Amanda Waller, and how Suicide Squad, maybe. I don't know. We'll see how they all fit in. Moving on, I think there was a clip from the new Batman animated show that's coming out very soon, I believe. And it is Batman Caped Crusader. This is from Bruce Timm, who did the original Batman animated series back in the 90s. And I think the big thing that came out of this was that the Penguin is a woman, which I don't care about. I think that's cool. It's kind of a different take. Again, different universe. You know, it's not tied to the DCU. It's just a separate independent series. So it doesn't bother me. And being voiced by Minnie Driver, which sounds interesting. I will definitely check it out. There was also a panel for the Harley Quinn animated series, as well as a little spin-off series called Kite Man Hell Yeah, I believe, which is very funny to me. I do like Kite Man's character in that show. It was also announced that Harley Quinn season 5 already? Yeah, so season 5 will be premiering in November, so again, relatively soon. I don't know, did I watch season 4? I don't know if I watched the most recent season, but I do generally like the show. I did mention this in my Joker 2 trailer that came out a couple weeks ago, that I like this version of Harley because she is separated from Joker. And while Joker still is kind of a character in this series, I don't say kinda, I mean, he has like a family and in a whole new relationship, but I just like the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy dynamic of the show. It's really nice it's just really refreshing to see. I don't know, that's just me. We're also getting some new characters like Lena Luthor, which I always like when Lena is involved in things. I mean, she had a big role in the Supergirl TV series, and I did like her character in that series. But we're also getting Brainiac, so maybe we'll get some more Justice League cameos in this show as well. I don't know, there wasn't a trailer for it as far as I know, but as soon as the trailer comes out, I most likely will do a video on it. So stay tuned. Another thing that was talked about was My Adventures with Superman, which is the animated Superman show that is on HBO Max. That's a show that I actually really like. And while I haven't watched season 2 yet, I believe season 2 is over now. So I will go back and watch. I like to watch it all as, in one go. I like to binge it, I'm old school that way. So we are getting a season 3, which I'm really excited about because I really like Jack Quaid's version of Superman. I really like Lois in that show. I just think their dynamic is some of the best that we've seen recently, besides the live action stuff, of course. But I think the biggest news that came out of this little panel was that we're going to get Connor Kent, Superboy. And there was some concept art shown. I'll put it here so you can see. I don't know, I like his design. I think it fits in with this universe and this art style, and it is obviously pulled from the comics, which I appreciate. So I am really excited to see one, who's voicing him, and two, just the kind of energy and vibe that he brings with the rest of the cast, and basically how just the story will play out. I don't think there was a release date for it, but I imagine it'll probably come out sometime, maybe next summer. All right, moving on to the TV stuff, and I think this is the last bit of news that came out of DC's panel. And the first thing we're going to talk about is the Penguin. Now, the Penguin got a trailer. Again, I'll probably do a separate video on that, from The Batman, Matt Reeves' version of The Batman, which I still think is the best Batman film. I'm sorry, it is. So we got an official trailer again for The Penguin. Haven't watched it yet, as I mentioned, but it is supposed to bridge the gap between Batman Part 1 and Batman Part 2. Basically, how the Penguin becomes the Penguin. This is something that I've always appreciated about Batman. Like, I just like the crime aspect of it. I mean, I don't know what it is, and I think that's why I resonate with the Batman film so much, is that it does feel like the Riddler Zodiac killer. I mean, like, that's what I've wanted out of the Riddler for a very long time. And then seeing it, and then seeing how the Penguin was involved in it, and I just love that version of Penguin, because it's not too comic booky like Danny DeVito's was, and it's not too like lame like that guy in Gotham. I don't even remember what his name is. I'm sorry. I know he did a good job, did the best he could with what he had. So that was shown, and I'm excited to take a look at the trailer and see what's going on with this universe. And the final thing we're going to be talking about in this video is Superman and Lois. I actually really like this show. I think it's some of the better Superman content that we've gotten, and honestly, this century. There's just something about Tyler Hoechlin's portrayal as Superman. Even with the TV budget, I mean, there's only so much you can do. And I am curious on this take, but they showcased a clip from season 4 of the show, and I believe it's going to be the final season. Superman and Lois is the last show, I guess you want to call it, that came out of the Arrowverse. Somehow you lived on a rock and you don't know what the Arrowverse is. It was the show that started with Arrow, the Green Arrow, and then it was Flash, Supergirl, who eventually came into the fold, and then of course Legends of Tomorrow, and then we got a bunch of crossover stuff. And for the most part, I think there is, I would say probably 80% of the Arrowverse as a whole is very good. There's a lot that's not very good. I mean, obviously, again, it's TV. There's only so much that those characters can do, with the budgets that they have, and also the studio's involvement, especially when it came to Batman, and the whole, like, Batwoman show. I don't know. There's just a lot that didn't work, and a lot of it was because of the studio interference. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Anyway, Superman and Lois had their show post-crisis, and for the most part it has been its own thing, which is okay. I'm fine with, but it's still technically the Arrowverse. It was on the CW, it got canceled. I think it moved to Max, and then Max has had it for the last few years, and so now they're finally ending it. But the big thing here is that in this final season, Superman is going to fight Doomsday. And of course, there was a clip that was released of him fighting Doomsday, because I think season 3 ended with that, and then so we're gonna pick that right back up. So I don't know. We got a whole season. Maybe Superman will die. You know, I mean, we've all read the comics. We've seen, you know, Batman versus Superman. We've seen Superman Doomsday animated movies. We know what happens to Superman when he fights Doomsday. And maybe this will give an opportunity for his sons to take up the mantle. I'd be really curious to kind of see Superboy become Superman. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. There were some other things that were comic book related. But I've been out of the loop for DC Comics for a while, so I have no idea what's going on. I know there was Dark Crisis that came out, and I believe they announced some stuff. They announced a Justice League Unlimited title, which is interesting. And again, all of this is post Dark Crisis. But again, I know nothing about that. That's something that I need to catch up. I've been catching up with Marvel stories that I've negated all the DC stuff the last few years, so I don't know if it's good or not. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me if it is or not, or if it's even worth my time. But I'll probably get like some volumes, you know, of some of my favorite characters and just kind of go from there. Not that big of a deal. But yeah, so that's everything that DC announced and talked about. Again, it's been a pretty light year for both DC and for Marvel. I mean, the only Marvel things that came out was Echo, and then we had just recently Deadpool and Wolverine, and then we're gonna have Agatha along in a couple months, and then all of DC stuff we haven't had anything, and all of that stuff's coming out in the next few months. So here's to looking to 2025. I mean, it's going to be a stacked year when it comes to superhero content. I mean, we're getting Captain America in February. We're going to be getting Superman in July. I think there is another film coming out in July. Is it Thunderbolts? I don't remember. I think Captain America originally was going to come out in July, but I don't remember. But with all that being said, that'll be it for this video. Let me know down below if there's any of these projects you are excited for. And keep a lookout for my trailer reactions to Creature Commandos and the Penguin. For more videos like this one, don't forget to like and subscribe. My name is Jorvik. I'll see you in the next one.